August 13, 2018, 1:48 a.m. A pregnant mother sends her husband a text message from the airport. "I love you. I miss you. We can fix this." 3 hours later, she would be gone. Her 2 daughters, 4 years old and 3 years old, gone. By that afternoon, he'd be on TV begging for their safe return. By that night, the world would know what he did. And the warning signs? They were there all along. This is the Chris Watts case, and it shows us something terrifying about the dangers hiding in plain sight. Before we dive into this case, I need us to take a moment together. Shanann Rozicek Watts. Bella Marie Watts, 4 years old. Celeste Catherine Watts, 3 years old. And baby Nico, who never got to take his first breath. May their memories be eternal. May their story protect others. May those of us left behind find the strength to keep seeking justice for those who can't speak for themselves. And to everyone watching right now, whether you're here because you're a true crime follower, a parent who wants to understand warning signs, or someone trying to make sense of how this happens, I want you to know, you matter. Your awareness matters. This work we're doing together matters. And I'm a crime analyst. I need to be completely honest with you about something. This work cost me pieces of my soul. The police reports I tracked down, the interrogation footage I analyze frame by frame, the evidence that never makes mainstream news, it's buried. It's hidden. It's not easy to access, and it's even harder to process. There are mornings I wake up and think, I can't do this anymore. There are nights I close my laptop and tell myself, this is the last case. But then I remember why I started this. I lost 2 of my own children to violence. 2 beautiful souls taken by evil. And that pain, that unbearable, never-ending pain, it transformed into something else. Purpose. Because I understand what Shanann's family feels. I understand what it's like to search for answers in a world that just wants to move on. So when I analyze a case like Chris Watts, I'm not just telling you a story for views or subscribers. I'm trying to save the next family. I'm trying to help someone recognize the signs before it's too late. That's why I do this. That's why I'll keep doing this. So let's honor Shanann, Bella, Celeste, and Nico by understanding exactly what happened, and how we can stop it from happening again. Let's begin. Frederick, Colorado. Summer of 2018. If you scrolled through Shanann Watts' Facebook page, you'd see something millions of people dream about. A beautiful 2-story home in a new development. A handsome husband working in the oil and gas industry. 2 adorable little girls who looked like they stepped out of a magazine. A baby boy on the way. Shanann was a force of nature. A level promoter with Lavelle. That's a health and wellness company. She was constantly posting motivational content, family moments, business success stories. She called Chris her rock. Her best friend. The best dad in the world. Thousands of people followed their life. Watched their videos. Wanted what they had. But here's what I've learned after analyzing over 400 family violence cases. The brighter the spotlight, the darker the shadow. When someone is working this hard to project perfection, they're not showing you their life. They're showing you what they need you to believe. And in the Watts household, someone was performing. Putting on a show. But it wasn't Shanann. It was Chris. Because behind the smiles, behind the family photos, behind the I love yous in the comment sections, Chris Watts was living an entirely different life. And Shanann? She was starting to notice. June 2018. 2 months before the incident. Chris Watts starts an affair with a woman named Nicole Kessinger. Now, before we go further, I want to be clear about something. Nicole was also a victim of Chris's deception. When they met, she didn't know he was married. When she found out, he told her the marriage was essentially over. That divorce papers were being filed. That he was just waiting for the right time. If you're watching this and someone is telling you this exact story, please listen to me. This is one of the biggest red flags in the Danger Handbook. Married men who are almost divorced rarely are. But Nicole believed him. And Chris started living 2 separate lives. On one side, family man Chris, posting photos with the girls, going to birthday parties, taking a beach vacation to North Carolina with Shanann and the kids. On the other side, affair Chris, Googling how to prepare for a first date, looking at wedding venues, searching, what do you feel when someone tells you they love you? Read that again. A husband and father Googling how to feel emotions about his pregnant wife. That North Carolina trip in late July? Shanann's family would later say Chris seemed detached, cold, constantly on his phone. Shanann texted her friend, he's different. It's like he's already checked out. He's not the man I married. She could feel it. And Bella, the 4-year-old, she could feel it too. She started having nightmares. Separation anxiety. Didn't want daddy to leave for work. Children always know. They feel the energy before adults will admit something's wrong. On August 7th, exactly 6 days before everything happened, Shanann sent Chris a long, heartbreaking text. She said they needed to talk. That she wanted to fight for their marriage. That she loved him and their family. His response was cold. One-word answers. She asked him directly, "Do you even want this baby?" Imagine being pregnant. Imagine asking your husband if he even wants your child. That's not just a question. That's a cry for help. That's a woman who knows something is terribly wrong but is desperately hoping she's mistaken. 5 days later, Shanann would board a plane home from a work trip. She would land at 1:48 a.m. She would walk into her house. And she would never walk out. August 10th to 12th, 2018. The final weekend. Shanann flies to Arizona for a business conference with Lavelle. Chris has the girls alone. Based on phone records, security footage, and later testimony, we know Chris spent significant time with Nicole that weekend. They went to the sand dunes. They looked at wedding venues online. They talked about their future. Meanwhile, Chris is texting Shanann, sending pictures of the girls, acting like a normal dad having a normal weekend. But Shanann is texting her friends, "Something's wrong. He won't talk to me. I think he's done with us." Sunday night, August 12th. Shanann texts Chris, "I miss you. We can work through this. I love you." Monday morning, August 13th. Shanann's flight is scheduled to land at 1:48 a.m. in Colorado. That same Monday morning, Chris Watts is Googling how to prepare a girl for her first date. He's texting Nicole about their future. He's looking at his finances and realizing what he'd have without a wife, 2 kids, and child support. And then he's Googling something else. Do people hate you after they find out? Shanann's flight lands on time. 1:48 a.m. Her friend Nicole Atkinson picks her up and drops her off at the house at approximately 1:50 a.m. Shanann walks through that front door. According to later evidence and Chris's own timeline, by 2 a.m. Shanann was deceased. The girls were still sleeping. By 3 a.m. Bella and Celeste were gone. By 5:15 a.m., Chris Watts was loading 3 bodies into his truck and driving to a remote oil site. All before sunrise. All while his mistress was texting him good morning. But Chris made one critical mistake. He had no idea his neighbor was watching. And that neighbor's security camera would capture everything. August 13th, 2018. 10 a.m. Shanann has a prenatal doctor's appointment at noon. She never misses appointments. Her friend Nicole Atkinson is texting her. No response. Calling her. Straight to voicemail. Now, here's what's important. Shanann's business requires constant communication. She's always on her phone. Always responding. This is completely out of character. 11 a.m. Still no response. Nicole drives to the house. She knocks. No answer. She can see Shanann's car in the driveway. The garage door is down. Something is very wrong. Nicole doesn't hesitate. She calls Frederick Police Department at 1:40 p.m. At 1:40 p.m., Officer Scott Coonrod responds for a welfare check. Chris Watts is at work at an oil site about 45 minutes away. He gets the call from police. "Your wife's friend is concerned. She's not answering. Can you come home?" Chris says, "Yeah, that's weird. I'll head that way." Officer Coonrod later said Chris's demeanor when he arrived was off. Not panicked. Not frantic. Not tearing through the house looking for clues. Calm. Too calm. They walk through the house together. Shanann's purse is there. Her phone is there. Her medication is there. Her suitcase is partially unpacked. The girls' beds are made but empty. Their tablets are there. Chris says, "I don't know. We had an emotional conversation this morning. She said she was taking the girls to a friend's house." But here's the problem with that story. Shanann's car is in the garage. Her friend Nicole dropped her off at 2 a.m. The last text Shanann sent was at 5:48 a.m. to Chris. "Is there anything I can do?" So if she left, how did she leave? Who picked her up? And why would she leave her phone, her purse, her car, and miss a doctor's appointment for her unborn baby? The story makes no sense. Officer Coonrod knows it. Nicole knows it. And then something happens that changes everything. The neighbor. The neighbor's name is Nate. Nate has a security camera mounted on his house that faces his driveway, but it also captures a partial view of the Watts driveway and garage. Officer Coonrod asks Chris, "Would you mind if we check your neighbor's camera?" Chris doesn't object. They walk next door. Nate pulls up the footage from that morning. And there it is. 5:27 a.m. Chris Watts' truck. Backing into the driveway. The garage door is open. Chris is loading something into the back of his truck. The footage shows him making multiple trips from the garage to the truck. Officer Coonrod asks, "What were you loading?" Chris, "Oh, just tools. Work equipment. I had to go to an oil site." But here's what's strange. Shanann's car is parked in the garage. You can see it in the footage. If Shanann left with the girls, why is her car still there? If Chris left for work at 5:27 a.m., why is he loading the truck from inside the garage instead of from his work vehicle? And why did he back the truck all the way into the garage? Something he'd never done before according to Nate's footage history. Nate later told investigators, "I was watching Chris's face when we were looking at that footage. And I saw it. I saw the exact moment he realized he'd been caught. His whole body language changed. He knew that camera had seen something he didn't want anyone to see." By 4 p.m., Chris Watts is being watched by police. By 6 p.m., the detective assigned to the case knows this is now a criminal investigation. And by 7 p.m., Chris Watts makes the worst decision of his life. He agrees to do a television interview. "I've analyzed over 500 suspect interviews. Body language, microexpressions, linguistic patterns, voice stress. I know what deception looks like." The Chris Watts porch interview is one of the most damning pieces of evidence in this entire case. Let me break down what you're actually seeing. "I just want them back. I just want them home safe." Notice his eyes. When people are genuinely terrified for their missing family, their eyes show it. What? Darting. Desperate. Chris's eyes are flat. Almost bored. He's saying the right words, but there's nothing behind them. Watch his mouth. He smiles. Multiple times. This is called duping delight, a psychological phenomenon where liars feel a sense of satisfaction when they think they're successfully deceiving someone. Listen carefully, those kids were my life. Were. Not are. He's already speaking about them in the past tense because in his mind they're already gone. He refers to Shanann as she and her. Never, my wife. Never her name. This is psychological distancing. Watch his hands. He touches his wedding ring multiple times. This is self-soothing behavior. Do you have any idea where they could be? Watch his face right there. That flash. That micro-expression. That's contempt. It's the face people make when they think they're smarter than everyone else around them. The FBI behavioral analyst assigned to this case watched this interview and immediately flagged Chris as the primary suspect. Within 24 hours he would be sitting in an interrogation room. Within 48 hours he would confess. But not to the truth. First he would tell a lie so disgusting, it would shock even seasoned investigators. August 15, 2018. Chris Watts is brought to the Colorado Bureau of Investigation office for a polygraph examination. He fails. Spectacularly. The examiner would later say it was one of the clearest failures he'd ever seen. Chris is moved to an interrogation room. FBI agent Tammy Lee and CBI agent Graham Coder sit down with him. For 5 hours they work on him. After hours of denying everything, Chris breaks down crying and says, "I didn't hurt those girls. Shanann did it." Even in his confession he's lying. Even when admitting to taking his wife's life, he's blaming her for the children. The investigators ask, "Where are they?" The bodies of Bella and Celeste are submerged in crude oil inside separate oil tanks. Shanann is buried in a shallow grave nearby. The autopsy revealed that Bella fought. But even this confession was a lie. In February 2019 he would finally tell the truth. And it was even worse. February 2019. Chris Watts agrees to meet with investigators again. Chris admits Shanann never hurt those girls. He did. Shanann arrives home. They talk. He strangles her. Bella walks in. She asks if the same thing will happen to her. And it does. Now I want to talk about the warning signs. Sudden personality change. Secret financial planning. An affair. Control of communication. Children showing stress. The victim knowing something is wrong. If any of this sounds familiar, trust your gut. November 19, 2018. Chris Watts pleads guilty. 3 consecutive life sentences without parole. He will never be free. Shanann's family lives with the aftermath. And the lesson remains.